and go to House Bill 5303, again sponsored by Chairwoman Williams. It's an act related to courts and civil procedure. Procedure generally, it's called equity practice. It deletes all use of the word master as it relates to courts and replaces it with the word arbiter. Chairman Williams.
Thank you. First, I have to apologize to Representative Corvese because there is another bill that addresses what you mentioned, and because it's not here, I thought it was in here. What it would do is it would ask for that non-custodian, financially stable individual to take some training to get familiar with that child's culture so that they can better be aware. Love is love, but there's some things like, hair texture, if it's a boy or a girl.
What did you say? I'm sorry, what was that?
Hair texture. There is food, preference. So getting trained in certain areas would be good for that person to get familiar with. So that would be the bill that that is also one that I submitted that I thought was one of the packages for some reason.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman.
That was the area you was going with, right?
Somewhat.
Okay. This act would delete all uses of the word master. Common sense, right? Yes, I'm master. What you want today, master? Tell me a little bit about it, master. And it's funny. However, it's realistic. It's realistic. To many, it's just a word, and it's used all the time. But, that cringe that one gets when it's said. You see this white man with a black robe, and I gotta address you as master. Hello. Honey, not today. So realistically, it means the same. It softens the blow. It doesn't change any responsibility. It just says an arbiter. Hello, that's definitely acceptable, teachable, and easy to say. It is no secret that the word master has extremely negative connotation, especially with regards to people of color. Now you know. And if we aspire to having a judicial system that is fair and equitable for all, then there is simply no place for this word in our current legal proceedings. We change words all the time. We add new words all the time. So this should not be a big lift at all. Everyone who comes into contact with our judicial system deserves to feel as if they have a fair shot, and consistently using a word with such atrocious historical implication is divisive, dismissive, and runs counter to the message that justice is blind and fair to all. And many of you several of you here might say, it's no big deal. When it's not affecting you directly, it's no big deal because it's not something that you have to deal with. But it is a big deal. And I think that this crossroad that we all encountered this past year, 2020, brought many of us to a point where either we cross over and see things in the light that's being shone on it, or remain the same way and be left behind. So it's one thing to listen to the words. It's another to hear what is being said and what message the word is bringing to you. So it's real, and and I applaud many of you who have made efforts in making a change. And I have to say this. I am very grateful for Representative Carol McEntee. Because as a white woman, she was not afraid to step forward and say, we must do something about this. And she came out and stood next to me. I've had a white woman say to me, a colleague at that, I cannot sponsor or present issues that helps or applies to a community of color. And I was so offended, and I asked her why. But while I was saying why, I answered it because I was so hurt and disappointed. So when I asked her why, I answered and I said, because you're white? And she said, yes, exactly. But she was being honest, so I had to give her respect and credit for that. But I say and I share this. That's a colleague in government right here whose mindset is pretty much clear to me. I'm not going to do that because it's not my responsibility. It wasn't Representative McEntee's responsibility. It was her moral duty, and she stood up to it. She came forth and said, we must do something about it. That right there is not only courage, but it's something that we're all here for, while we are elected or not. That's compassion, that's integrity, that's loyalty to doing the right thing. It's not a black and white issue. It's a human issue. It's about compassion. It's about seeing something wrong, saying something, and doing something about it. So I had to share that, but I wanted to share it where it's not only a conversation with Representative McEntee and I, but a conversation so that my words are not only words, and you all are not just listening, but you are hearing the day-to-day experiences that we are faced with, and even with my own colleagues. So, Representative McEntee, I am proud and grateful, and I thank you very much for stepping up and out for justice without color having to have been an issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Williams. Chairwoman, excuse me. That was very nice. And nobody stands up for justice more than you in this House. So you carry the flag and you wave it high and proudly, and we're all grateful to you.
Thank you. Let us update our judicial language so that our justice system is modern and inclusive, providing the diversity that our judicial system should have for all our residents today and moving forward. If there's any questions, I will answer.
Any questions for the sponsor? There are no witnesses, so that will conclude testimony on House Bill 5303. And if I might take the opportunity as chair, thank you for reminding people, white people in particular, that we can see, I can see, I grew up in the neighborhood, but it didn't happen to me. So unless you feel it, you don't know that the stove will burn you. So I'm glad that we have you, Anastasia, to be a conscience for all of us. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes testimony on House Bill 5303.